So did you hear that the Preds blocked the Canes on Twitter?
Really? That sounds pretty petty.
No, of course they didn't. How would the Preds be able to reply if they had?
Canes, take the W. Come on. Preds lose 4-3 in overtime of Game 6 of their first round playoff series versus the Carolina Hurricanes, and thus lose the playoff series 4-2. It was a valiant effort with 4 of the 6 games going to overtime, but it's still gonna sting here, knowing that the Preds were oh so close to pulling the upset. Arvidsson and Tolvanen are not in the lineup as Brad Richardson fills in this elimination game. Saros would get tested early and seems locked in, and his Preds teammates would respond quickly for him. Erik Haula to Nedeljkovic's left would take a shot on goal, and it's tipped in right in front by Nick Cousins, picking up where he left off in Game 4, 1-0 Preds. Preds soon after that would have a 2-on-1 on Nedeljkovic, and Yakov Trenin just can't get it by him. It's missed chances like that is going to keep players on this roster up at night over this summer, and that's possibly a good thing because it will feed them to strive harder next season. Because soon after that missed 2-on-1, Brock McGinn would tie it up 1-1. Preds would get awarded with the first power play of the game, but can't make it worth their while. With about 2:20 left to go in the first, Mikael Granlund gets a great chance. If he would just shoot the puck a lot sooner, he hung on to it way too long, and Nedeljkovic stops him with the glove hand. Erik Haula with an excellent chance to put the Preds right in front, but can't get the shot off in time as time runs out in the first 20 minutes, and the period ends 1-1. Early in the second period, behind the Carolina net, he doesn't touch him, but Mikael Granlund disrupts Alex Nedeljkovic's train of thought, and Nedeljkovic, instead of getting it to one of his teammates close by, shoots around the board wide to Ryan Ellis at the blue line, who just ever so innocently throws it back on net. Mikael Granlund has had the time to position himself right in front of Nedeljkovic's net, and he bangs it home 2-1 Preds. Preds seem to feed off of that Granlund goal as they are creating more and more chances in the Carolina zone, hoping for a 3-1 lead. A good bushel of pressure by the Preds is negated by an unfortunate Mikael Granlund penalty, and the Preds stay strong. They don't let the Hurricanes set up too strongly. They get some solid chances shorthanded, and soon the Carolina Hurricanes power play is negated by a penalty of their own, so it's 4-on-4. Granlund and Carrier with some back-to-back chances 4-on-4 is also helped by the Canes taking another penalty. Now remember the order of penalties there. The Preds followed by 2 by the Canes, which would mean the Preds would get an epic opportunity to try and gain a solid lead with a 5-on-3. It wouldn't take very long as the puck comes to Roman Josi, who just throws it on net with traffic in front. Ryan Johansson is there to bang it home. 3-1 Preds. Carolina is desperate to get back in this game. They don't want to go back to Raleigh for Game 7. You can see it in the Bridgestone faithful, and you can see it on Preds social media, Twitter, and Facebook. The 3 goals just isn't going to be enough. They're going to need to get 4. But in the meantime, the Preds defense is seemingly up to the task, including Ryan Ellis with a great block to keep the Preds' 2-goal lead intact. And it would start. First, Matt Benning in the box for interference, and on the power play, Sebastian Aho cuts the Preds lead to 3-2. Preds and Canes keep pushing themselves to the limit in this game. One wanting the series over, one wanting to extend it. And John Hines would turn to his herd line again to try and get that insurance goal. And they came close, Sissons and Janot on a 2-on-1, but they can't get it past Nedeljkovic. Canes take a late penalty with Brady Shea in the box, and the Preds wouldn't be able to score, but maybe they could get that insurance goal in the third as the second period ends. Preds up 3-2. Killing off that Brady Shea penalty, as the Canes did, seems to fire up those boys in white and red. And they start creating more chances, knowing that they're only down by a goal and can quickly tie this up like they did in the third period of Game 5. Jesper Fast would have a breakaway on UC Saros, and Ryan Ellis is there to follow up to make sure they don't score, but Ryan Ellis would take a penalty for his effort. In the overall grand scheme of things, not a terrible penalty for Ryan Ellis to take in that moment in time if it stops a grade A scoring chance. Preds would actually create a 2-on-1 shorthanded on the Ryan Ellis penalty, and Erik Haula hangs on to it for too long when he should have tried to score, and maybe the Preds would have been up 4-2 and have won this game in regulation. Fortunately though, Erik Haula would make up for not scoring by helping to prevent a Canes goal at the other end on the power play that the Canes had as it wound down. Ultimately, the Preds defensive unit would come to Ryan Ellis's defense and would kill off the penalty. A short while later, disaster hits as Martin Hook got Josi good, not dirty, but good right into the board, and Josi would end up leaving the game ultimately for good. We don't know for sure all the details, but I'm assuming it was for concussion protocol and he wouldn't come back, and the Preds would play the rest of the game with 5 defensemen. Canes with a good sequence with about 11 minutes left, but the Preds' best player on the ice in this game, UC Saros, is trying to drag his team to a Game 7. We hit 6.5 left to go in the third period. In regulation, the Preds still up by 1, and the Canes are creating numerous chances. Just over 6 minutes left in regulation. The Canes have the puck in the Preds zone. Either Yakov Trenin or Ryan Ellis ultimately missed their assignment because Dougie Hamilton is left all alone and UC Saros can't do a thing as he ties the game at 3. The final 6 minutes wind down in regulation, as it seems like forever for Preds Nation in attendance and watching on TV as this lead evaporates. Game tied at 3, going to overtime for a 4th straight game. Still no sign of Roman Josi as the first overtime begins, and it wouldn't take very long. Face off in the Preds zone. Puck comes back to Jacob Slavin, who takes an immediate shot on net. It's tipped in by Sebastian Aho, which means that UC had no chance to get his glove on it. It's in, the shortest of all 4 overtime games in this series. The Canes win the game 4-3. They win the best of 7 series 4-2. 66 seconds of overtime. That's all it took, and now the Preds season is over. We should feel very fortunate as a fan base to see where this team came from its lowest point in early March, where yes, I didn't think they would make the playoffs. The statisticians didn't think this team would make the playoffs, but they took us on a wild ride, and really for the first time since 2017, I would argue overachieved. Like I said in the preview for this series, the Canes are the 3rd best team in the league, and the Preds took them to almost the limit. The roster should not have anything to be ashamed of, but what can the front office now learn from this? I'll do a post-mortem later once I've had some time to compartmentalize my thoughts, but overall, I don't think this team needs a massive overhaul that we all thought it did back in March, but it does need to have some turnover of the roster. Sure, they will need some changes. Tinkering will not be enough, like this team was okay with post-Stanley Cup final appearance in the next couple years with winning the President's Trophy and still hanging on for the division. But there is going to need to be some change from older players being let go into free agency and younger players needing to be brought more into the fold moving forward. But that's a Preds video for another day. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, click like if you liked this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. You can find my social media, as always, by clicking on a channel name. Chin up, Preds Nation. The great thing about sports is there's always next year.